Welcome back to the Noctilucant channel. Today we're going to do a video that I haven't been meaning to do for a really long time. Pretty much going back to the very beginning of this channel, I've just wanted to do a video where I get drunk basically and just talk about my Dungeon Synth collection. Anyone that's watched this channel for a long time knows that the usual primary focus here was always dark ambient music and stuff, related to that, but I don't give a shit what anyone says. Like, I know people say like Dungeon Synth is a subgenre of black metal, which, I mean, it is, but for me personally, like, Dungeon Synth was actually my gateway into dark ambient music, and of course, that started with Mortiis years ago. That's where it started, and I've said that many times in this vlog, and I think since the very first vlog I put up, I said, okay, we're gonna talk about this album soon, and then here we are like 4 years later, and I still haven't talked about it. So, yeah, let's talk about Dungeon Synth. Let's talk about Mortiis. Let's do it. So, if you don't already, this video is probably gonna be pretty long. It's very improvised, so this should be interesting. And I should probably clarify, like, even though I've been into Dungeon Synth since the late 90s, I mean, I got into Mortiis when I was like 17, 18 years old, and in case I look younger than I am, I'm actually in my 40s. So, yeah, I've been into it for a long time, man. But I never really amassed that big of a collection over the years because it really wasn't until recent years that, like, the Dungeon Synth name was, like, the official, genre or whatever, It was unknown. It was always just synth music, or it was ambient music, or it was, I don't know, dungeon music or something, no one really had a special title for it until, like, the past 5-6 years. So I never really knew what to look for, so I haven't really amassed a great collection, a huge collection. I'd say pretty cool collection, actually, I would say. But I'm gonna show it to you. This is probably gonna be a 2-3 part video, depending on how long things go, and my battery looks like it's already gonna die, so we'll see what happens. So let's do it. A Dungeon Synth collection update, show and tell. Let's do it. Get your mead or your beer or whatever you want. Make sure you got a fancy goblet for this video. All right, let's go. Alright, let's do this thing. So we're just going to start out with the obvious, and we're going to start out with Mortiis. So as I already said, I got into Mortiis back when I was 17, 18 years old, over 20 years ago. When I first got into Mortiis, it was, it's like a lot of people say, it was just really special, and it really, for me personally, it kind of made that gap between, or kind of linked that gap between, like, video game music and something else. Like, I grew up loving video game music from, like, Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Secret of Mana, all those old RPG, Super Nintendo, and PlayStation games, and when I discovered, like, how should I say this, a contemporary music maker that was making something similar, it was like, wow, that's really cool, man. So, like, Mortiis was so special back then, and there was, like, this mystique, too, because, this was before Facebook or MySpace, any of this stuff, No one knew what he looked like, other than his close friends. I didn't know what he looked like. I just knew him as the pointy-haired, batty-winged goblin troll dude, and it was cool, at the time, I didn't make the connection, too, that he himself was, like, influenced by, like, big, like, rock star types, like, Blackie Lawless from Wasp, or, Gene Simmons and the Kiss guys. I didn't make that connection back then, so it was really cool, and I just, he was his character, and it was his character making music, and it was very unique, and, man, it's just so cool. So, the very first Dungeon Synth album I bought, and I guess to a lesser extent the first Dark Ambient CD I bought, was this Mortiis album. This is my OG Cold Meat Industry pressing, and I can't pronounce Norwegian, but Anden Sam Yada Para. That is the album title. His second album, Religion, released in 1994 on Cold Meat Industry. I think it might have also been released on Malicious Records. I don't know. Yeah, that's something else I'm thinking of. But yeah, it's his second album, and I don't know, man, when I got this, it was so unique, so special. And I would just close my eyes and just, enter into this ethereal medieval world, and it was really special. I think I said this once before also, but when I was a teenager, in my early 20s, I was drinking a lot, there was a lot of hangovers, and somewhere along the way too, Mortiis was like my hangover music. Like, the next morning I was suffering and just sleeping all day. So yeah, I mean, you guys know us. You guys know this album. I mean, I don't really need to show these, I guess. But then, we have, of course, the first album, and I don't have the OG press in here. This is one of the earache reissues. You know, these albums have been, the cool thing about these albums too is they've always been, I think, really easy to pick up and all that kind of stuff. Mortiis's Kaiser of Dimension Ukgent is actually probably my favorite Mortiis record. Just, this one just felt like it had the most memorable melodies and perhaps maybe, yeah, man, just really special. There's a sort of underlining melancholy to this too. I have always adored this album. I mean, regardless of what Mortiis has done over the years, it has never tarnished my impression of this album or any of his 90s discography. Then of course, Crypt of the Wizard, which is, I don't know, kind of the hokier stuff I guess he did in the late 90s, where I felt like when I heard this, I was like, it felt like he regressed a little bit and went back to something even more like more video game-ish, which technically I should have liked, but I think I just wanted more of that, like, I don't know, medieval-y stuff he had done. This didn't seem as medieval-ish-ishy, I guess. I don't know. You guys know it. You guys have heard it. And then, of course, Stargate, which was his a bit more elaborate, and then, yeah, more well-developed stuff, and I believe this is when he first started touring and stuff like that. He took the show on the road. The songs are not 20 minutes long anymore. They're more song-based. There's vocals from Sarah Jezebel Diva, and it is a phenomenal record. Man, I absolutely adore this record. I still love, like, the beginning of Army of Conquest. So epic, man. Or World Essence has a bit of a melancholy to it. I Am the World is just really grand and epic sounding too. And the first song, Child of Curiosity, has that sort of bouncy kind of, yeah, like 80s movie kind of vibe. I just, oh man, I love this album so much. The whole album's so great. And again, you know, it's not just Mortiis on this album. There's several guest musicians. You know, Sarah Jezebel Diva doing her phenomenal vocals. I've always loved her vocals. So, yeah, man, great stuff. You guys know Mortiis. Of course, other people also know that a couple years ago, Mortiis released The Spirit of Rebellion, which was his return to his dark ambient roots, although it's actually just a re-recording or a reinterpretation of the Anden Psalm album. And, you know, it's been a few years since this came out. When this originally came out, I did like an unboxing for this video, and I was like, I'm really looking forward to this, hope it's cool. And as many times as I've listened to this, I simply cannot, I mean, I like it, but it's just a reinterpretation, a re-recording, a cover of your own song, basically, songs. And I never fully understand why artists do that. I always thought it was weird that, like, they always got to go back to, like, those, you know, their bygone days and just like, all right, let's do it again with better production, better guitar skills, better vocal skills, and it'll be better? No, man, there's that youthfulness. It's just always there when these bands, you know, their old recordings, and it's a bit of a, I mean, I guess it's cool that he went back to Dungeon Synth, because the industrial stuff, it never resonated with me, or the dark wave stuff, I guess would also be. When The Smell of the Rain came out, I was like, yeah, it's okay, you know, and I bought it, and then it never really clicked with me, and then, I don't know what the album was after that. I didn't like it though. I was like, this just sounds like Skinny Puppy, and all that just straight industrial rock metal stuff was always boring to me. So, yeah. You know, for a final thought for Mortiis, you know, now he's been back to playing Dungeon Synth live and making this album, I really hope he releases a new album soon, because, I mean, that Cold Meat Industry Fest was, what, 6 years ago already? And that was kind of when he, you know, bounced back and was like, oh yeah, these people do like my old Dungeon Synth stuff. So, I really hope he makes a new album, because all he's been doing these past few years is just re-releasing and re-releasing and re-releasing these old albums, while then digging through his archives and finding just hopelessly boring singles and other bullshit from the 90s, and then these live recordings, which, I don't know if you've ever watched, like, the Mortiis live shows, but it's like, it's basically just like a stage show and him pounding on the drums and then just a backing track. So it's like, not really much going on there, and they're basically bootlegs too, so they sound like shit. So I don't get it. I really hope he releases an album soon, because he's had more than enough time, and I know he's got a normal life, he's got a family, but I think Mortiis is his job, so he's he doesn't really have an excuse too much. He should make a new album. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So hopefully it happens soon, and hopefully it happens good. But anyway, that's Mortiis. That's some thoughts. Alright, well now that we got the obvious out of the way, let's dive into the deeper dungeony depths of my Dungeon Synth collection. So, the first, second album I'm going to talk about here, actually it's like the sixth album I'm showing, is Aardia and Fairy Tales from Beyond. So this was another very early Dungeon Synth project I came across. A Swedish project in this case. This came out back in 2001, and I originally discovered it on mp3.com, and if you're not old enough to know what mp3.com was, it was basically a very early version of Bandcamp. Essentially what you could do was post your music on there, and then it was all for free, of course. You couldn't make any money on it, I think. But artists would post their music on there, and then people would download it. It was just, early Bandcamp. And they also had a feature called DAM, which stood for Digital Automatic Music, where basically they would burn those songs from that album or demo or whatever it was onto a custom CDR and mail it to you. It was pretty cool, and I actually wish Bandcamp would do something like that. But I suppose at the same time, Bandcamp is kind of drilled into people's heads that they just should listen to digital music. We shouldn't have all this physical crap. Why would we want that? We just put it on our phones, put it on our media player, whatever it may. We don't want physical stuff. Nothing tangible. No, fuck that. I will always like physical goods. Anyway, so yeah, Bandcamp is gonna do it. So Aardia and Fairy Tales from Beyond. So I came across this band on mp3.com, and I really dug it. This was again, a band that really kind of, bridged that gap or whatever after video game music. So it was really cool for me to find this. And as far as I know, I did not order this through their mp3.com. I ordered it from their website. And I can't remember for the life of me, or they sent it to me for review in my my old zine, Lunar Hypnosis. And I also interviewed Aardia. I think it's a long name, Aardia. Yeah, I interviewed it, so I should probably post that on this channel. Maybe I'll do it next week or something, go through those archives. But yeah, I interviewed it back then, I think right after this came out, and to the best of my knowledge, they had a demo in 2000, this was their second demo in 2001, and then I think quite a few years passed, it wasn't until 2007, 2009 they finally released their full-length album, and then I don't think they did anything past that. But this is cool stuff. It's only 4 songs, but very enjoyable, just melodic, medievally, hobbity dungeon synth, so yeah. This may be floating around Discogs or something like that, or maybe you already have it. Yeah, if you have any of these records, obviously I know everyone has the Mortiis records, but if you have any of these, I would really, really curious to see, hear your thoughts on it. So, yeah, man, Aardia, Fairy Tales from Beyond. Oh, shitty beer. Oh boy! Alright, ready to continue on with this video. So up next is a bit of an obscure pick, and I don't really know if this is often talked about in the Dungeon Synth circles, but I've always called it Dungeon Synth, and the album in question here is Abnocto and their album Simon Magus. People watch this channel, of course, know Simon Heath from the Cryo Chamber label and Atrium Carcery and his various projects, but I don't really know a lot of people that know his old project, Abnocto, which is a bit of a shame because it's very, very good, and it's a bit of a shame he gave up on this type of music. So Abnocto and the Simon Magus album was created back in, I think 2005 originally? I don't know, I should have rehearsed this, but whatever. It's old at this point, and it was Simon Heath and this other Swedish guy named Simon Cole, and alongside Abnocto, they had a project called Zafrumi, and Zafrumi was total, Lord of the Rings, orcs, and just, total nerdery project. A fantasy ambient project, they called it, but again, it, falls into, the Dungeon Synth nowadays. And Abnocto was one of their side projects, and it focuses on, Simon Magus, who I believe was some sort of mystic or something, I don't know, again, I should have rehearsed this, but a really cool album. It has this sort of, it's interesting because it kind of it has this sort of, I guess, typical medievally dungeon synth feel to it, while also having this sort of I guess it's sort of cathedral-esque kind of feeling to old Raison d'etre has and stuff like that, and you know, just some of the other older like cold main industry artists as well. You know, just it has that kind of feel to it, so it's kind of unique in that aspect. Yeah. There's kind of this, if you go look on like Last FM or something, there's a biography about this band, about how the album was like recorded underground somewhere in Stockholm in some cave or something. I don't know. It's on Last FM, and the biography is really wrote in poor ass English, so it doesn't exactly make sense. But apparently, like, they hauled a bunch of instruments down there, and that's where they recorded the album. So not your typical thing, and it's very different. But it's interesting too, because it kind of has that sort of Mortiis influence there, and there's all these kind of spoken vocals and chants, and I don't know what's going on. It's a cool album though, and if you've never heard it, look it up. I pretty much guarantee you can score a copy off of Discogs for just maybe $10 or something. Or that's how much I paid for this one off of eBay, like, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe. But yeah, Abnocto, Simon Negus, just really cool, just kind of fun. Alchemy dungeon synth or something. I don't know. It's different. I like it. Alright, moving on, we're going to talk about what is seemingly, at least to me, like one of the most successful, like, independent dungeon synth artists going these days, and that project in question is Aindulmedir and their album, The Lunar Lexicon. Aindulmedir, in case you don't know, is a project of Par Bostrom, who lives in northern Sweden, and he has a slew of really great projects like Kammarheit and Himnambule and a whole bunch of other really good stuff. I mean, I've talked about this channel so much, but I don't think I've ever really talked about this. It was released and it was just instantly successful, and he more recently released a second album that just like sold out in days, which was like awesome, but I was like, hey, I wanted one. So that kind of sucked, but I think this is the second pressing, or maybe it was originally on cassette, I don't know, but really cool album, really just sort of minimal, and again, kind of soundtrack-ish and video game influenced dungeon synth music. Before Par even released anything, he had just posted like short little videos on his YouTube channel like a year or two beforehand, just kind of showcasing his style, and I guess it was just met with such success that he decided to put it all together and make an album. And hell yeah, man, it's been extraordinarily successful for him, and why not? It's just really great. The only thing I was kind of disappointed with when I got this album was that he had re-recorded all the songs from the way they appeared on the original like YouTube videos or whatever, and the song Winter and Slumber, like, it's basically the exact same song, but it's just like something is slightly different. Like he used a different like piano melody or a different, you know, like setting on his keyboard to create it, and like it still sounds cool, but the version he had on YouTube was just so ethereal and just kind of melancholy, and again, kind of, you know, took it back like those old video game soundtracks. Just, man, really cool. And I don't like this version here as much, but it's still, you know, it's good to have that song. But yeah, it's just something really special about that original version he had. So yeah, third Swedish project in a row. That wasn't not intended, but it comes with this nice digipack, and it was self-released, of course, on Par's own Hypnagoga press, and I think it may still be available, but again, this is a really popular one lately, or in the past couple of years, so I guess you probably know it. Eindulmedir, the Lunar Lexicon. Alright, these next couple ones I've shown on this channel in some form or another in a collection update or something of that sort. Yeah, I think it was one collection update. So, here is, and I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but I guess it's pronounced like Blakagir? I don't know, but it is a Polish project, and it is the project of a man known as LON. He also has a symphonic black metal band called Helveto, which had several releases from like the late 90s up till about like 2012 or something. Then the project, I guess, morphed into a new project, which sounds exactly the same, called Neo Heresy. Kind of weird, but yeah. But this was his purely like, I guess, epic dungeon synth sounding project. Basically this just kind of sounds like Helveto without metal elements. I mean, it's just epic, bombastic dungeon synth, plain and simple. The thing that I connected it to was a more modern project called Ringbearer, which I have also shown before. It's sitting in my lap here. Yeah, Ringbearer is just this kind of, the style, the production, the feel is remarkably similar to this album. And I guess probably you guys have heard this album because this is some newer stuff. But yeah, if you like Ringbearer, then make sure you check out this, or I guess I think he did like 2 or 3 albums of this project, then it came to its end. But yeah, definitely that sort of more dramatic and epic-ish dungeon synth, and it doesn't exactly have the feel or lo-fi-ness of a typical dungeon synth album, but still just really enjoyable, and I've held on this album for many, many years. So yeah, Carpathian Art of Synth by Blakagir and Ringbearer, Ghost of the Father. And then I also showed this one in a collection update, like, I don't know, 2 summers ago maybe? Yeah, we'll say that. Druadan Forest, Dismal Spell, what the hell? Dismal Spells from the Dragon Realm. Of course, this is a side project from, I can't think of his name right now, but he does the black metal band Vargarev, which is just a phenomenal, raw symphonic black metal project from Finland, and this is his dungeon synth project, you know, has long epic song titles, kind of like Mortiis again. It's definitely old school. But it still kind of has its own unique kind of charm to it. I really enjoy this album. The only thing that's really peculiar about the album is that there's like these huge gaps of silence after each song, and I don't know if that was intended, but it feels like it was more of just like some sort of production error or something like that. I don't know, just really weird. Cause it kind of, distracts you from the music then with those gaps being there. But if they were there for a purpose, I do not know what they are. But yeah, again, this is another modern day-ish one. If you are into supporting Werewolf Records, and if you have any taste in black metal, you should support Werewolf Records. But this was released on a black metal label, and this is just a great album, Druadan Forest. Alright, so moving on, we have another one of the very first dungeon synth projects I got into after Mortiis, and this one's always been really special to me. It just has a really unique atmosphere to it, and I love it, man. How I discovered this artist was maybe a little weird, and you're only gonna understand this if you were like using this program at the time, but back in 2000, Napster was at its peak of, stuff being downloaded and shared and stolen, whatever, however you want to phrase it on the internet. And I want to say, like, I was searching Mortiis, but a thing people would do a lot of times on when they were sharing MP3s was they would tag the MP3s with like similar to this or that, so you'd search Mortiis and then these other artists would come up. A very good promotional strategy for young bands and projects back then, I guess, or record labels. Anyway, I came across it on there and I absolutely loved it because it had that dark, medievally, soundtrack-ish, video game-ish atmosphere that Mortiis had, and I just loved. But it also added in black metal vocals, and I had just gotten into black metal like a year before, so it was just really interesting hearing like what I perceived at the time to be like, just calm, chill music, but then with black metal vocals, it like made it this more extreme thing, and it was really fucking cool, and so yeah, anyway, the project is Elffor and their album Into the Dark Forest. So this was originally self-released in, I believe, 1998, and I guess this original copy is pretty hard to come by now, all these years later. I think it was only pressed in like 500 copies or something like that. But it is it's a project that's based out of Spain, but more specifically they call it like the Basque country, but I guess Basque is sort of like a state within Spain. Is that right? I never really fully understood it, but this band was also like basically my gateway into other bands from that region, and like, there's some really really amazing metal bands from that area, like Inlebelts, Ayumian, I don't know how to pronounce it, and there was another one called Newman, which I think actually Elffor's Yol, which is the main member of his band, he played in that band too. I think he played keyboards. But yeah, this is just really obscure and dark, melancholy. It's weird because at times it almost sounds like depressive dungeon synth, like DS. Oh my god. I just gave you guys an idea. I'm making a DS project. You know what I'm talking about. Alright. So, depressive dungeon synth. Yeah, that could be a thing. Or is it a thing? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, I really love it. It has both medievally and depressive and dark, and it just kind of, I don't know, man. Very, very 90s. Very, I don't know, man. Just really special. Again, it just brings me back to those youthful days whenever I listen to it. I remember taking the bus back in like the winter that year, just listening to it, you know, taking in the wintry landscapes. And it's just special in that way. I mean, so then I continued to follow Elffor throughout the years, and his style continued to change. This was the second album, Son of the Shades. It continued on very much in the Dungeon Synth style, but a little more elaborate. It seemed like he had some better synthesizers and better programs and all that kind of stuff he was using. And then he started to use more like traditional instruments and stuff like that in his music. This is just a phenomenal album. I love this, man. Such a good album. And again, this is original press, and I think again it was only 500 copies, so pretty rare to have. But at some point in time, I want to say it was like, I don't know, maybe 2008, there was re-releases of the first 4 albums, but I guess they were re-recorded, so they don't sound exactly the same. So you're just, getting a re-recorded remat or whatever. I don't think they're exactly about. I think that's what it said. They were re-recorded, so it's not gonna sound exactly the same. So it is, a cover of your own song, which is, again, it's fucking weird. But anyway, and then by the time he got to this album, which is called From the Throne of Hate, he started to add more obvious black metal stuff to it. There was, program drums, really discordant, buzzing raw guitars, but still had, that Dungeon Synth spirit. It was a good merging of the two styles. Really cool stuff. I actually haven't listened to this album in a really long time, but, again, this is original press here. Hard to get, I guess. So, nah. No, I'm not really. A funny story I can tell you about Elffor, though, is, I feel kind of bad about this, even all these years. Oh shit! All these years later, I kind of feel bad about it. But when I first heard Into the Dark Forest, and it was only one song I heard via Napster right back then. It was a title track, and I messaged him, and he emailed me back in what had to be the shittiest English anyone has ever wrote to me in my entire life. It was unbelievable, but I managed to piece it together what he said. And what he said was, I will send you the album in the mail, and once you receive it, send me the money. Which is a little weird. So I was just like, alright, here's my address. And then he said, alright, I'll send it this weekend or something. And, it's coming over from Spain, and it's also worth pointing out that, this is before, before PayPal or, normal, online ordering. Nowadays, anyone can have an online ordering system on their website, but that wasn't a thing 22 years ago. So, yeah, you had to basically, send cash in the mail back then, which was extraordinarily risky, but that's what he told me to do. He said, send him, $15 cash in the mail, and I'm sure, or maybe American money was worth more back then, I don't know, but, I sent him 15, maybe it was 20, and I sent it in the mail, and then, some time passed, 2 months or something, and he said, well, hey, did you get the CD? I never got your money. And I was like, yeah, I got the CD 3-4 weeks ago. How'd you not get the money? And then I think he just said something to the effect of there's a lot of postal thieves and it probably got stolen. So my bad, I shouldn't have done that. We should have thought of something different or something. I can't remember. This is literally when I'm a teenager still, so I can't remember. But I always kind of felt bad for it, so I continued to buy his albums after, because I was like, fuck, I owe this dude. And the good news is he continued to release great music, but somewhere after his 4th album, I just kind of broke off, and then wasn't until a bit later on that I bought another one of his new albums, and I think, after all these years, he's released, at least 15 albums. There's been compilations, splits, you name it, man. Lots of stuff. He's been very prolific, as well as also, I think he's involved in some metal bands. I don't know, I can't remember now. But yeah, he's a very prolific guy. It's always had very cool artwork. I've always really liked the artwork. It's all done by a friend of his. Very cool. So yeah, it's a cool project that, initially was just dungeon synth with black metal vocals. And I guess now that I've, more recently come across, some older dark ambient or dungeon synth projects from the 90s, it wasn't necessarily, the black metal and dungeons I think was certainly always there, but I didn't hear it until Elffor. So the project's special for me, and again, just a link to my youth, so to speak. So yeah, Elffor, just amazing stuff. I guess, again, you guys probably know him, he's legendary at this point, so yeah. Yeah. So I should also mention I have one other Elffor album. That album here is the, I don't know how to pronounce that. So yeah, this album, which was released in this awesome, I guess what they call these like media books or something like that. Very cool. And again, this was very much that dungeon synth and black metal merging of styles. It comes this really cool thing. I think almost all of his records have been very limited. Some, like 500 copies. So this is super cool. I just love it. And the book is in this little DG book here. Shit, stuff keeps falling out. I didn't do a really good job of showing that, but yeah, you guys probably have it. You know the story, and then I guess it also comes with an advertisement here for the re-release of Unblessed Woods. Yeah, some other information up there which you may find to be interesting. And then the Elffor patch, which I never put on my metal vest or anything like that, but I have seen that people do like dungeon synth on their metal vest nowadays, which is kind of weird, but hey, you do you, man. Yeah. So that's my Elffor collection. Obviously, there's several more around that I really need to get catch up with sometimes, but this guy's got really good stuff. But anyway, in the background now, you probably already noticed that wasn't Elffor playing. It is actually a project known as Exclamavit. This is a friend of mine that lives down, or I should say he used to live down in northwestern Illinois area, and he was also a drummer in a black metal band called Finn, which I like quite a bit. But this was his dungeon synth project. Again, I've talked to him about this, and he's told me like when he made this, the term dungeon synth didn't even exist, and I want to say he released this back in like 2011. He was just trying to pay tribute to like I guess like maybe old Mortiis or something. I don't know, but yeah, this is a very good album, very underrated, I would say, but I know that he does have it on Bandcamp, so it's certainly worth looking up. I don't think there's anything in the book with the show. No, there's only a single thing there, but it's very simplistic and just medievally, but it's not just synth. There's some additional instruments like what we have here. There's chanting, there's there's numeral vocals, he's got the jaw harp, hand drums, timpanis, etc. So it's not just synth, it's pretty diverse stuff. I always really liked this a lot. But he only made one album for Swamp Cold Productions back then, which was sort of a dungeon synth and black metal label, which I don't know if it's still going, but it had some cool releases. And yeah, man, you could probably buy this from Swamp Cold for like $5 if the label's still going. Just yeah, man, really, really cool stuff. I just like this. I just always wished Alon would have made more music like this, but he never did, which is a bit of a shame. Alright, well, continuing on, we are going to talk about just a few more albums for this part one of my Dungeon Synth music collection. But we will continue in a few weeks, I promise. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you've heard of these albums, I would love to hear opinions or give me some recommendations of stuff I should definitely check out. If I haven't mentioned this video or the future video I'm going to make. So continuing on, we're going to talk about, and I hope this is fair, but I'm going to talk about my own Dungeon Synth project, which is known as Gavella Glan, and the one and only album I have released called A Silent Vigil for Oncoming Plagues. So, a bit of a backstory, a real backstory, is I've wanted to do a Dungeon Synth album all the way going back to when I first heard Mortiis back in, 99. I love the style, I want to do that music, and every part of me wanted to buy a synthesizer back then, make music like that. I just lacked confidence, and to a lesser extent lacked money. I didn't want to take like, that $600 to $800 hit and buy a synthesizer and not know how to record or not be able to record or, so on and so forth. So I never did it. And it wasn't until I started doing my dark ambient music, several years of doing my dark ambient music with Noctilucant, where I was like, alright, well, what's stopping me from making a Dungeon Synth album now? So I was like, yeah, man. And there was some, kind of more melodic characteristics in some of the Noctilucant albums anyway. So I was like, well, why can't I make a whole album out of that? So yeah, enter 2020, and then there's a global pandemic, and I get laid off from my job for 2 months. And after a while, I just had nothing better to do, so I was like, well, I better start writing a new album, and I decided to write an album. And pretty much during those 2 months that I was laid off of work for COVID, I wrote this album, and the details were later fleshed out, and some other additional parts were added by some friends. But generally speaking, it was all kind of wrote and recorded in those first 2 months there, and I'm really happy with this album. I think if you guys are into minimal but melodic dungeon synth with some backing female vocals, courtesy of my wife no less, or just, you know, something that, at least in this case, is inspired by the Witcher 3 video games, I think you'd absolutely love this. I still have, I want to say, like, 4 copies of this, maybe 5, I don't know, maybe there's more than that, I don't know, but I did 20 copies originally. Some people bought it, but it's mostly just been sitting since it was released back in, I want to say that was late 2020 when I released it, or was it? No, it was early. It was I don't remember, but I think it was late. I think it was December of 2020 I released it. But anyway, yeah, I got some copies left if you enjoy this. But this was a really fun album to make, and I have made some more demos since this, but I just haven't really found the inspiration yet, which is a bit of unfortunate. But hopefully it'll come eventually, because I really want to make more music like this. So there's the front cover, and the front cover is actually at least the yellowy, orangey part is a painting my wife did several years ago before she even met me. And then I just kind of put these frames on it. A logo service known as Logotomy Designs made me a logo. Had to pay for it, of course, but yeah, they made me a pretty cool logo. And in case you don't know, Gavella Glan is from, the Witcher 3 video game series, and it's basically like a illumination spell that Kira Metz casts to illuminate a cave that you and Geralt of Rivia are traversing during the game. If you've played, you know what I'm talking about. If not, well, whatever. Then the back cover, the track titles, and yeah, all the track titles are basically just, you know, taken from the Witcher 3 video game, kind of like some of the chapters and so on and so forth from the game, but I should probably point out that the album is not entirely influenced by the Witcher 3 game. It was just sort of like, after I completed the songs, I was like, well, these kind of sound like something from The Witcher. I mean, that was my thought anyway. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you could just view it as an alternative soundtrack, so to speak, or something. I don't know, but yeah, man, I just was like, yeah, what the hell? That's something different. No one's done Witcher 3 dungeon synth, so yeah. And the inside cover, I mean, it's just a handmade DIY digipack with a picture of me looking handsome as always, I suppose, right? Yeah. Then it just comes with this cardboard sleeve and a vinyl-looking CDR, but it's playing in my CD player right now, so I cannot show that to you. But yeah, Gavella Glan, A Silent Vigil for Oncoming Plagues. Alright, so just 2 more CDs to talk about for this part 1 of the Dungeon Synth Music Collection. So, I love this project. I came across this right around Christmas, so it was even just more perfect. It is the debut CD from Krampusnacht. And if you don't know Krampusnacht, it is basically a medievally dungeon synth reinterpretation of old Christmas songs before the Christians stole them, I guess, from the pagans, yeah. I heard this and like, I was just like, this is awesome. And the reason why it's so awesome is because I fucking hate Christmas music. Like, I never liked Christmas music, man. Like, when I was a kid, I hated it. I just like, it's just too happy for me. I'm a depressed child. Why? No, I don't like this. But like, then I hear this and I'm like, this is cool. I can dig this. And so like, I think this came out like 3, maybe 4 years ago already. I bought it right after it came out, and I was like, this is just awesome. So every December I have to play this, and I love it, man. It's just really special, man. It's super simple, super just fun. I love it. And yeah, the CD's a pretty simple affair. This is the inner part, and then the back cover. Yeah, I guess this project kind of blew up pretty quickly, but rightly so. It's a lot of fun and just something fun and different to play around Christmas or whatever, you know, prefer to play this Christmassy-ish dungeon synthy music. And the second album, which I have not listened to nearly as enough as, called Superstar, and it's, I think thematically it's different, or maybe it's not, I can't remember now. But it's the same style, and it's a lot of fun, man. I really, really dig it, and it's just, yeah, man, it's just a fun project. Yeah, again, I guess you guys kind of know, if I'm not mistaken, this guy is also involved in a few other projects. I know, like, the Bandcamp claims he's from, like, Antarctica or something like that, but I think it's actually the musician. He's a musician from New Zealand, and I actually think I have, I'll talk about the project because it's going to be the next part of this video, but yeah, he's a New Zealand musician. He has several projects, and I think some black metal bands back in the day too. But yeah, Krampusnacht, man, I mean, just good fun and just, yeah, I guess. I love it, man. Just hokey as shit, but yeah, man, fun. So, that is part 1 of my Dungeon Synth music collection. Hope you guys have enjoyed this, and it's gonna be a few weeks, but I will definitely be making part 2, maybe 3 of this if I have enough music to talk about. My Dungeon Synth collection is not huge, as I said in the beginning, but hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time on the Noctilucant channel.